Hey guys, it's V. Welcome back to the farm. Today we are doing the September farm tour. I wanted to walk you guys around because it is late September and this is a really good example of what the garden looks like at the end of a growing season. So tonight we are going to do a total walk of the farm. We will start at the front of the farmhouse, swing through the farm stand to show you some things that farm husband harvested last weekend, something I'm really excited about and wait all year for. We will hit the vegetable garden on our way out to the flower fields, and then we will go field by field, row by row, and show you exactly what's growing on the farm right now at the end of September. My name is Vanessa, and I'm growing a cut flower farm in Edgewood, Washington, Zone 8B. In 2017, I started growing cut flowers in my grandfather's garden to aid him in a romantic endeavor. And now, with the help of my partner, we're building a business and a community around the local flower movement in our little corner of the Pacific Northwest. Welcome to Pops. These lovely boxes right here contain some big, beautiful beds for the vegetable garden. I'm going to start by taking you over to the farm stand really quick, where we have, you might have noticed, some of my favorite things. We harvested pumpkins. I'm so happy with them. These ones are my absolute favorite. These little cuties are called Casparita, so if you are looking for an adorable white decorative tiny pumpkin to grow next year, this one's a winner. I will start this farm tour the way I start many of my farm tours, right here in the vegetable garden. Our vegetable garden currently consists of 11 raised beds, and I have 2 4x8 in-ground beds as well. Now, the new raised beds that you saw on the porch when we started the video, those are actually going to go right where these in-ground beds are that I'm standing right next to, and I can't wait to get those built and filled up with garlic and onions for next summer. In some of these beds, we have some very late planted pumpkins that are not actually going to do anything unless our last frost is super late. But the marigolds that we planted just for ourselves look so lovely. A lot of the things growing in the vegetable garden right now were planted anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks ago, or 4 to 8 weeks ago, in anticipation of our last frost. So we made sure that we planted just brassicas and things that don't mind the cold, like lettuce. And they are coming right along. These are our little kale babies. And we have some broccoli babies over there that will eventually get thinned and spread out around the garden. I do always succession plant in the vegetable garden and in the flower field, and this is a really great example of that. Here we have some starts that I purchased and have already been harvesting off of, and here we have some seeds that I sowed at the exact same time. And that is one of my biggest tricks in the vegetable garden. A lot of times we want to succession plant, but we don't necessarily always remember to start multiple sets of seeds in the right little spacing of time. So my little secret is that I will usually go to the nursery, get some starts, and sow seeds the same day that I plant those starts in the vegetable garden. In this way, I can get 2 successions planted with only 1 set of seed sowing, all in the same afternoon. Our bush beans did great. These are Blue Lake bush beans, which was always grandfather's favorite. And our sad little tomatoes are still sad little tomatoes. But our seeds that we're starting over here are coming up, and that's exciting. For those of you that have been watching our channel for a while, you know that the vegetable garden is more or less symmetrical. So what you see on this side is what you would get in the identical matching beds over to the right. But you're not here to learn about vegetables. You're here to talk about flowers. We currently have 3-ish, you'll see why I say ish, fields that we're growing flowers in, and I will show them all to you right now. Field A, Field B, and way up there will be field C. All of our fields are no dig, no till fields. They all have 3-foot wide beds with 2-foot paths covered in wood chips. Field A over here was the first field we made the very first year we got to the cabin, which was January 2020. So I'm going to take you row by row, show you what's growing, what's not growing, what's going, what's staying, and just everything flowers here in the flower fields. Let's start with field A. So over here I had some trial dahlias. These were varieties that I had not grown before that I was testing for production. I will do a whole separate video on the dahlia test patch. I want to keep this moving because, as you know, farm tours are notoriously long videos. In this big weedy patch, we had all of our pumpkins. So that whole bed got torn out last weekend, and we finally have some pumpkins in the farm stand. I'm really excited. Everyone seems to really love them, and even though it's not quite October, I think everyone is ready to welcome fall. So pumpkins were here, and this next bed over got completely eaten up by them. They took up way more room than I thought. In here I have a bunch of perennials. Right now they are staying until I can make their forever home in the near future. This next bed over contained a lot of summer annuals, of which some are done, some are still going. This is the Coral Tassels Amaranth, which I am done with for the season. Typically, I only let them get this big if I know that I'm going to be using them for a wedding or some sort of large installment. For bouquets, I plant them really, really close together and harvest them when they're still quite small, usually a 4 to 6 inch tassel. I absolutely would recommend growing amaranth next year if you're looking to fill out your bouquets a bit or just add some really, really great interest. It's always a hit with customers. It seems like unless they've bought our flowers, they haven't seen a lot of amaranth before. This little patch of marigolds is going nice and strong. These are the Cocoa Golds from Johnny Seeds. Now I've had a little trouble selling these this year. I think they're very hip and very trendy, but I find that they're hard to sell because of the scent. People tend to either totally love marigolds or absolutely despise them. So if you're going to grow them for sales, keep that in mind. Make sure you have a customer for this one. The next bed over is just more of the same, more summer annuals, things like cosmos, amaranth, and it all needs to get pulled out. It's all done for the season. But after that, we start getting into our dahlia crops, which have been loving the cooler weather, and they're doing just great. They will flower right up to the frost. They are our major fall workhorse, although I wish I could have them all year long. Let's just kind of walk down this row. This is Intrigue. It's a very bright highlighter red. We also grew a lot of Cornell this year. A very classic red. Reminds me of the red of like red roses. Reading a little brighter than she is actually on camera, but pretty close. And then my favorite of the year is Black Satin. Again, reading very red on camera. She's actually really, really dark. One of the darkest dahlias I know of. Very red on camera, but actually almost black in person. And then to finish out the row, we just stuck in some marigolds. We had an odd number of tubers, dahlia tubers this year, so that was just a little gap we filled in. And I've got Mystique down here at the end, looking very tired for fall. The next row right behind me is actually really hard to walk down, so I'm probably not going to walk down it. If you have trouble with walking down your rows, they're either way too close together, which I understand. We put ours really close together, knowing that it would be hard to walk down them if we didn't properly corral or stake the dahlias. But just so you know, we have Peaches and Cream, a few miscellaneous whites, Cafes, Blizzard, Castle Drive. The next row over is actually some cold hardy annuals that just never got pulled out. The bed never got flipped for summer except for the 10 feet right here at the end, which is some tired cosmos, and it's time for them to go now too. To start this row out, we have bride to be over here on the right, and that is a la mode there on the left. A la mode is a dahlia I have talked about as a possible replacement for peaches and cream if you don't have the money to buy such an expensive tuber. Another really good option if you're looking for dahlias on a budget is to buy rooted cuttings, which I know Drew at Claire Joyce Flowers sells, and I would not be surprised if there are other growers that start offering that as well. It's a huge bang for your buck. But what I would say about a la mode is I had some trouble growing her for the first time this year. And the problem I was finding is that she scorched really quick and easy. She would open up maybe halfway, 3/4 of the way, not harvestable, and then begin to scorch. The petals would just turn brown. And I think it's because our field gets a lot of sunlight, full sun, like 8 to 12 hours a day. So she might be a better candidate for the at-home gardener, the backyard gardener, or anyone that has somewhere to grow it that gets 8 hours of sunlight a day instead of a spot that gets more like 10 or 12. Lastly, in field A, I have a very weedy patch of yarrow, but I'm proud of my weedy patch of yarrow because, as I hoped she would, she has put on a beautiful second flush. I was really worried that the stems would be short on a second flush, as they can be, particularly on things like snapdragons. But as you can see, we have incredible stem length. So very happy about that. The Cornell Bronze Dahlias were a workhorse yet again this year. I think our farm would be lost without them. All right, that is field A. That is the full extent of my summer annuals and my dahlias here at the farm this year. Let's go take a look at the slightly less glorious field B and the very beginnings of field C. Welcome to tired field B, where we are all sunflowers and we are all going to seed. I learned so much about sunflowers this year. This was my first year succession planting, a la Lisa Mason Ziegler. She preaches about planting sunflowers every week on your farm for a perpetual harvest. And I can tell you, it totally works. I didn't succeed in doing it every week all summer long, but the weeks that I did succeed in doing it, it turned out amazing. We had a really consistent production. One of the big things I learned about growing sunflowers this year, though, was just how critical spacing is. And I knew that, but I didn't take steps to ensure that my spacing was going to be perfect. And I paid the price for it a little bit on at least one of my successions. We did go ahead and leave many of the really big sunflower heads that had gone to seed out here in the field for the wildlife, and they have absolutely loved it. We have blue jays and squirrels that are out here every morning and every evening. In fact, we're probably impeding on their dinner right now. I didn't have a plan for this space. A more seasoned farmer would have, so I left it in for the wildlife. They love it. Next year, they will probably not be so lucky, but maybe we'll plant some and let them go to seed way back towards the back of the property. So if you're planning on growing sunflowers for cut flower production, let me tell you, spacing is absolutely critical, and this year drilled that home for me more than ever. Plant them so much closer than you think you need to, like so much closer, and play around with the different varieties and figure out the spacing that you like for each variety it is that you like to grow. While the left half of field B is covered in dying sunnies, the right side is thriving with possibility. I have this part of field B covered in a silage tarp. It's been like that all summer long. So I know I have a sterile seed bed to plant into really soon. And by really soon, I do mean really soon. I got a little behind the last few weeks, but before that, because I knew that would happen, I set myself up for success this fall in that I ordered a ton of stuff to plant. I am talking peonies, I am talking daffodils, I am talking tulips, I am talking astilbe, calla lilies, lots of perennials. I'm really excited, but that is where a lot of this stuff is gonna go. The lovely 15-yard pile of organic, plant-based, wonderful compost is what is going to be making Field C right behind me. As you can see, we had a silage tarp here all summer long. It laid there through the hottest part of summer for a solid 3 months or more, which is why when the rain came back and all of the grass started to regreen, this area did not. I know there's a lot of people talking about silage tarps on YouTube lately, and they recommend that you only need to keep your tarps down for a short period of time, sometimes just a matter of weeks. I personally say if you have the time, it is worth front loading the time investment when you're making a new field like this than to have one season go by and go, dang, there's a lot of grass coming in. I think patience is a guaranteed way to win with a silage tarp. The only other thing I would mention about using a silage tarp is that the voles absolutely love them. So if you have voles, you might want to consider whether or not to use silage tarps because they are going to make a little home under there and they will go all over your garden and use the area under the silage tarp or landscape fabric as their little home. So Field C is going to be home to more of our perennials. Now, I haven't purchased any woody shrubs yet. We are going to be making another field, and this is like long term. We'll probably cook it all next summer and plant it next fall. But we'll have another field way out past anywhere that I've shown you before with all of our woody perennials and shrubs. So that is going to wrap it up for our end of September farm tour. I hope you enjoyed. This is a really good picture of what our farm looks like at the end of the summer season, right before we clear everything out and get ready for winter. If you like this video and you want to be in the loop on more flower content in the future, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of when our next video drops.